perfectly. And another way that we reflect God's image is socially. We were created by God for fellowship, who understands fellowship. Remember what we said in this verse that we just read. Let us make man in our image, according to our likeness. According to the Bible, there is only one God. But the Bible explains, even in the Old Testament, back in Genesis chapter 1 that we're looking at, Genesis chapter 3, and all the way up in Isaiah chapter 6, we read the same terminology. Let us make man in our image, according to our likeness. The Old Testament even reflects the Godhead. In other words, in God there is a fullness. These they don't prove a Trinity, so I don't want to jump to that conclusion, but they reflect a fullness in the Godhead, which is fully explained in the New Testament as a Trinity, Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. And it also confirms God's social nature. When God created man, he did it in order to fellowship with him. And there was no need to create us. He is complete and sufficient in himself, but because of his goodness and because of his social nature, he created man. And this great act of Genesis chapter 1 demonstrates that he is a being who cherishes fellowship. So our fellowship between each other therefore reflects God's social qualities. Every time that a man marries a woman, or when someone makes a friend with somebody else, or when they hug a child, or when they attend church, they demonstrate that part of God's image in them, this social quality that was made in his image. Not only are we created in God's image, but God said, let them have dominion over the fish of the sea, over the birds of the air, and over the cattle, over all the earth, and over every creeping thing that creeps on the earth. God has given man dominion over the creatures of the earth. Although these creatures are wonderfully made, we've talked about that last week, the complexity and the beauty and the design in all of these creatures, and we are to care for them, they are not on the same level as man. Unfortunately, people have taken the care of animals to extremes that were never intended by God. We have activist organizations like PETA and the United Nations, which are actually looking for animals to be given the same rights as human beings, and thus are overturning the decree that God made when the animals were put in subjection to man.